Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the wild landscape of Scotland, and this is just a random little adventure because I just kind of pulled into this wee road here at Glenisla because I was eating a sandwich and having a drink of juice, and I was just looking over thinking, check this out, somebody's totally dumped evidence here of a massive grow. Look how many bags is total in there. That is insane. Each one full of like the soil and everything like that. And I just thought, is that evidence? Is there a wee abandoned house potentially down this road here? Because I noticed there was a little path here in the glen that I had never been down. And I just thought in today's adventure I would head down. If I didn't find anything down here, we'll be going somewhere else in this adventure, folks. So stay tuned. It's a random crazy adventure into a wilderness here. So when I saw this path leading down here, I was just thinking there could be a wee like abandoned house or a little property. Sometimes spontaneous adventures like this are the coolest adventures because you just never know what's round the corner. This is actually some old like forest track, I believe. But sometimes up these little tracks there's actually a house, because for some reason there's been a road coming in. Not unless it's just when they've been doing timber operations over the years. I'm taking full precautions here with the wellies and stuff like that, and that's because of the threat here of ticks within this long grass. It's proper overgrown here. Look at this mad plant right here, folks. Check the colour of this thing. Look at that. It looks amazing here. It's just some mad Scottish wild garden. Anyway, I'll go to the end here and I'll update you. And if there's no abandoned history, we'll head on to something new. Check this out, folks. This piece of the forest floor here is covered in the purple heather, which you get all over Scotland at this time of year. But it just makes everything look insane. And from the roadside, when I came into that car park, it looked like there was some clearing up ahead, so I'm kind of just heading in that general direction. There's so many bees and wasps and stuff fleeting about. It's unreal, folks, and the sun has got so much heat in it today. Like literally it's about 22 degrees Celsius. Now I've come into this forest area, there's like no breeze, so I'm feeling the full effects of the heat right now. So I've made it to this clearing in the forest, folks, and it's a paradise scene, but there's definitely no abandoned history in this area. So I'm going to go back to my car and then continue this adventure on further up the glen. But it is often cool just to see what's up a path like this, and I can actually see there's a dragonfly on this stone here. I'm going to try and get it on footage, but they do fly away because they're incredibly defensive hunters. Look, it's flowing away down there. You probably can't see it though. It's just a little dragonfly. But quite often in my adventures, especially in the Scottish forests here, like I see a lot of dragonflies, and some of them are super massive. That was just a tiny little one that time. But dragonflies actually are one of the oldest species of animal on planet Earth. And yeah, they're just incredible animals. So it's cool to see them when I'm out on these adventures. Anyway, I'm heading back to the car, folks, so I'll update you once I'm further up this glen, probably. Check it out, folks. It's typical when I go to put the camera off, I see something else that's cool, but I don't know if you can see this grass in front of me here, the bog grass. It's just full of spider webs. It's like spider webs which are a net. I don't know how well it comes out on the camera. They're just full of them, and I can see all the spiders sitting in the middle of those webs. Each and every one of these plants, it's like a natural habitat for wildlife right here. Look at that on the welly right there, folks. It's a tick. The sun's not at a good angle, but this is what I tell you nowadays about the ticks, folks. Check it out. It's walking around the welly. Absolutely horrible creatures, like. And that's the reason I wear so much like wellies or stupid stuff in the summer. You'll be thinking, why is he wearing that coat? Literally, it keeps these creatures off you. And if I had been in the trainers there, you have to think that tick would have actually gone down inside the trainer potentially. And that's another reason that I tuck my trousers into my socks, Even when I have the wellies on, I do that just in case a tick goes inside the welly. But it's so crazy that you get them out. That's why recently on my adventures I've been at like heavily grazed areas, or areas that's got a lot of livestock, because that way they take the ticks off the ground, or most of the ticks anyway. But if a tick like that's crawling about on you, you don't actually feel it, and even when it bites you, you still don't feel it. So it's important just to always stay highly alert and aware that that stuff's around. Look, there's a bee on the path there. It doesn't look whale, it looks owl. Whoa, look at that, folks. There's a beetle eating a bee. Can you see that? The bee's moving about, but that's because a beetle is eating it. Whoa, see the things that we see in nature, folks. I just went to look at the bee, and then I realised it's crazy. Like, there's a crazy bit of history getting made right there. The beetle's eating the bee. It's having its tea. It's having its lunch. Anyway, like I was saying, whoa! Massive dragonfly, folks. I don't even know if that comes out on the camera. See, when I tell you that there's giant dragonflies in these lands of Scotland here, like, it's bigger than anything that I've seen. If you type into YouTube, like, Britain's biggest dragonfly, like, you didn't see the biggest ones, because they're honestly flying about up here. They're quite hard to get on video, and like, my camera's obviously not good at focusing or zooming in on individual creatures like that, but wow, that was so cool. In a place like this, once you start looking around, you realise that nature is just thriving. And see, like, the insect world and stuff like that there, it's just mad. A lot of those creatures are out to get blood, out hunting. That's how they survive. And those dragonflies must get a good feed, and that's the reason they're out here fleeing about looking so big. Right, folks, part 2 of this cool adventure here up Glenisla. I've made it out of that incredible, like, wild wood where I saw so much mad, like, wildlife. And now we're away to have a look at a bit of abandoned history, which is hidden in the magical glen here of Glenisla. And I just love the scenery up here and the landscape. Each of these Scottish glens has got like a different character and almost like a different atmosphere. And Glenisla is one of my favourite. When I was little, I used to actually live up Glenisla, so it's a special little glen here in Scotland. But the bit of history we're away to look at today up here is actually an old lime kiln, and it's in pretty good condition. Each farm used to have a massive lime kiln at an ancient time, back in like the 1700s and times like that, and they would get limestone and then they would bake it in the kiln, and then it would turn to like a powdered form that they would put on the fields to improve their yields. Even nowadays they would still put lime on the fields because they obviously control the pH balance of the soil depending on the acid alkali content. They want it to be the perfect, like, obviously, like, growing conditions within the land, and they've been doing that since years and years ago for sure. Look at it, all these cows here are inquisitive. They probably don't see many people coming past here other than the farmer and that when he's coming to feed them. There's actually some wee cafes as well kicking about. Look at this, folks, see this purple flowered thing on the side of the road here? That's actually willow herb, and at this time of year it seeds, and when the wind blows the seeds go flying through the air and they're just everywhere. It's so, like, evasive, we'll call it. It just spreads in no time at all because of the nature of the seed heads. But you see this willow herb all over the place in Scotland. Glenisla's no different. Wow, folks, look, all these cows here are starting to run over, which is quite alarming. I might have to run as well, the opposite direction in a minute if they keep coming. Yeah, they're so inquisitive, check them out. Glenisla cows, folks. And they look like fine beasts, I would say. They're maybe just recently put in the field as well. Cows can be quite excitable if they're recently put in a field and they're just getting used to their surroundings and their environment. They've maybe just been put in together as well and they'll be getting used to each other. maybe the daily goings on at their old field was a bit different from this, having the main road up the side of it. Anyway, I'll update you once I get further down this road, folks. I've got about a mile's walk probably to get to the little lane at the side, the little mud track. Check out, folks, these lands at Glenisla is just a true paradise scene, was a way to say. That bird gave me the fright of my life. Look at this, I think there are rose hips here growing at the roadside. It's crazy the different amount of plants that thrive out in these wild environments. Along with the thistles, I can see the butterflies really like sitting on the thistles. They'll be getting a heat in the sunshine right there. And I'm sure this is where the wee track goes in that I need to follow around the hill here. So I've not been in here for years, but I'm sure it was like there's a little metal bridge here that I need to cross over the top of the River Isla, which flows down the centre of Glenisla, waves its way through the mad landscape. It probably had part of carving the landscape as well over the years. Check out, folks, this bridge is made of a massive sheet of steel, and that's because in the storms the River Isla can get ferocious. So this bridge is made out of proper, like, strong metal. I can see somebody's got a wee holiday kind of caravan bit there. It's a cool spot. Shout out if you're watching this video, and that's your wee holiday home right there. No way, look at the bridge here. It's proper stone construction under there. Mad scenes, folks, and I believe this old abandoned wonder is just along the path. Cool to hear the River Isla flowing past there, folks, and this is just an incredible summer's day here in Scotland. It's amazing often just to go out for a walk into the wild landscapes when it's a day like this. I can see this field here has just got a big herd of cows in it as well. See, like the sheep fields and stuff I've been in the last episodes and that, they're actually safe enough for walking about, but I wouldn't advise walking about within like cow fields and stuff like that. If anybody's out in the countryside, because cows are more temperamental, more likely to get excited and accidentally hurt somebody, whereas with the sheep you can kind of read them and you ken what they're doing. But if you turn your back on a cow, it would charge you down. There's an incredible like farm which overlooks this glen here, located at the top of the hill, and this must have actually been the lime kiln for the ancient farm which was at the top of the hill. Because that farm's probably been there from the ancient times, maybe 1500s, 1600s and before it. And look at this grand display of history right here, folks. It's one of the coolest big lime kilns that's around, abandoned in these areas. The size of this construction, the way the stonework looks after all these years. For being like a farm furnace, it's absolutely massive. So I'm not sure if they also maybe contracted other people, like would come and get their limestone smelted here or burnt down into the powder form. The amazing thing with these big lime kilns, they're of circular form like a massive oven, but they're actually built with dry stone construction, which is just amazing to see. You can see the shape of it, it hasn't changed for all these years, probably like 300 or 400 years potentially, and that's why it's just magical to come and document them when they still stand here in these lands. Check this out, folks, it's just so cool to see. This one's in a pretty good condition, to be honest. Sometimes the stone can be damaged from the heat. Look at the size of these massive lintel stones. You can see how they've originally cracked the stones in half back at the early times when they've been doing this. And also, if some of these had been burnt and maybe starting to crack, they may have been replaced when this was still in operation. It was probably maintained and looked after for many years. Check this out though, folks, I have to have a look through the hole here. Look at this, wow. It's truly an abandoned piece of paradise. See, when you look up at that, the stone construction right there, with the mad like moss and stuff, and a bit of scrap which has probably been thrown in over the years. That is just what I love to see. It's just like a natural biome almost, separate from the weather in the glen here. It's probably got its own little weather system inside there. Huge spiders, and just look at the state of this thing. It's amazing to see. Think about the original people that put these stones in. The hundreds of years they've stayed in those little slots. I can see there's proper like creatures all over this ferns. There's spiders and things right there. I don't know if it even comes out. It's cool to come in and get the footage, see what's here. It would be a shame to walk all this way and then not see inside that hole. It's so interesting. Sometimes the black staining in here can be caused from the soot, from the massive fires and heat that was within this area. Well, this is where they would have loaded it up, probably with the sticks and stuff and whatever else they used. Most likely big chunks of like hardwood and stuff they would have been burning in the bottom. I believe they would have filled that up, and then at the top they must have had the limestone as well, maybe sitting up on top of wood, and as it burnt it just kind of lowered down further into the massive furnace. But these were most likely fired 24 hours a day, or I can just imagine that's probably how they could keep such a high heat within the ancient structure. And it's a sign of the industrial history of this glen alongside the farming heritage. And that's why I thought it's special to come and see it. Yeah, I love seeing it, folks. Just a mad stone construction right there. So check it out. I'm waiting to have a little peek in the top of here, folks. Yeah, look at this. It's an amazing angle looking down in. This is the circle here of the structure. The sun's at a poor angle, unfortunately, today, but we get a real essence of the scale here from the top of this thing. Look how it's built with the dry stone construction onto the side of this hill. They probably dug into the hill a bit just to get their kind of hole for the circle, and then they would have built around it. And you can just imagine how it looked when the smoke was billowing out the top of it. Wow. I've never been up to look at it this close, and I love to see this details with the little stones that was used here all playing their part. Look at it here as well. Just think how long ago these little stones and the big stones, they were all put in. And when you take a first like glance at it, you think it does not look that strong, but it is just incredibly strong. The technique and the masonry that was involved, I don't even know if it was classed as masonry. The dry stone construction back then was just impressive, and it's so special to document it before it falls down in one of these mad like Scottish storms. So there we are once again, folks. I'll take a walk just to this side of it on the road here and we'll have a look. I'm always blown away by the scale and the size of this one. I'd actually forgotten how big it was, but I believe it's always been that shape with the flat top, most likely so the fire and stuff from the furnace would just go right out. Often with some of the other big furnaces like this, and like the lime kilns as you would call them, they're actually often stolen. The stones used to get stolen from them for other projects and things in nearby areas. If they were needing a big like lintel for building a shed, they would often take the big lintels from the limestone, like the lime kilns. So yeah, that's interesting to see this one in such great condition. A bit of Scottish industrial farm heritage right here on the channel. And it's mad to start further down the glen in that wild landscape and then see another bit of history here, which is still a wild landscape but certainly easier to walk for sure. That was how I thought it'd be good to come in on like the main road, because after seeing those ticks within the wild forest earlier in the video, it was just scary, folks. Yeah, looking back at it, it's just mad with the opening. If you didn't know it was a lime kiln, you would think it was an entrance into some ancient old underground like castle. Wow, anyway, I'm heading on with this adventure back into the wilds of Glenisla once again, folks. Check this out, folks. Once again, we're crossing the River Isla here, and this is certainly a sturdy bridge. I've not seen one made out of such big slabs of steel, but for sure it's a strong bridge. It's got big metal girders underneath it. It's no going anywhere. They were probably sick of the old bridge washing away or whatever. Yeah, probably all the land would wash away around this bridge and the bridge will be left standing. I think the river's quite low just now as well, because we've had quite a dry spell this past week and that. Often the River Isla can actually burst its banks, and it would probably go into all these fields and stuff behind me. So here's an interesting fact for the viewers. A lot of people think spiders are like a unique insect and they don't have anything the same kind of species, but a tick is actually the same. It's actually an arachnid as well as a spider. That's a crazy detail. So often if you're in a forest and you see spider webs and things, it also means ticks can be about, because they both thrive in that same environment. I just noticed that big butterfly coming into land right there, folks. Check it out. It flew away. Sometimes on sunny days the butterflies are far more lively. That's insane, folks. Those butterflies just love sitting on the thistles. Check that one out. I actually saw it's got like a little tongue sticking out its mouth. It must be getting the pollen from the thistles when it sits on it. That's interesting to see, folks. Nature's just mind-blowing when you look at it like that. Check out this rose hip bush, folks. There's so many little like rose hips, as you would call them. I'm sure that's the name for them. The bushes are absolutely thriving up here in this glen. Look, they've got that spiky bit on them, so if you grab it you would get proper stabbed. Like, that's what a lot of plants are like in Scotland. They're wild. Even the thistles. Check this out, folks. Look at the thistles right there. On the end of each leaf they've got the spikes. And look, the thistles are seeding. This is what they look like. Once they've gone purple they go this colour. That's the next stage of the thistle. After it's flowered, it spreads its seed, similar to the willow herb. It blows with the wind, spreads over the land. And the thistle's obviously the flower of Scotland. It's cool to see it out here thriving in the lands here of Scotland. Check it out, folks. I'm back in line with this field here that's got the boisterous cows in it. And a minute ago the other one was still running about here. I think they're quite young calfies, some of them, and they're still running about. They're often quite funny when you see them running and jumping about like at that age. All the other cows are just out here eating the grass, enjoying this sunshine here in Scotland. In a few months it'll be ice cold winds and they'll be back in their sheds hiding from the crazy Scottish weather. So this time of year is just amazing. They're out here grazing and it's just, yeah, fresh Scottish grass. Probably the freshest Scottish grass that you can get, or some of it anyway. It's good lands up here in Glenisla, and it's cool to see these big hills at each side with the forests right over them. So many glens these days seem to be getting clear felled for sure. Right, folks, that's me just about back at my car. It was a fun adventure up here, exploring another wee bit of Glenisla and documenting the history of that incredible old lime kiln there, hidden in the wild lands of Glenisla. Anyway, I'm ending this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.